Today's podcast is brought to you by Audible. Head over to audibletrial.com/jumbled and get a free 30-day trial and a free audiobook. They have over 180,000 titles to choose from for your iPhone, Android, Kindle, or MP3 player. Get you some! What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Jumbled, your favorite podcast about nothing. I'm Zach.
And I'm Johnny.
I forgot my name for a second.
Well, you know, it happens. You're a busy guy.
Yeah,
how often
up.
do you really use your name?
I mean, every now and then. Every now and again.
Every day?
I'm a little tired today because I don't want you to think I was staying up all night waiting for you, but I was staying up all night waiting for you.
Oh, man, I totally knew that was going to come. I really need to do a better job at keeping things in my calendar or referring to my calendar.
I'm bad about that, too.
So it's like, yeah, Zach, let's record Saturday night. I'm free. I also told my other buddy that I was going to play video games with him Saturday night. And then Saturday afternoon, I'm like, oh, yeah, I'm going to this little hockey game thing.
Yeah, little hockey game.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it was an NHL game. But continuing the weekly tradition of Battle of Alberta, Edmonton Oilers were in town playing the Flames, and Allie and I try and always go to those games. And I actually got these tickets from a charity hockey tournament that I played in and won a live auction, which was on my bucket list of things to do.
That's one of the most Canadian things I've ever heard of, Johnny.
A charity hockey tournament where one of the live auctions were hockey tickets that I bought. Yeah, and that's why, you know, you stayed up all night, because that game started at 8 p.m., which is 9 p.m. your time, and they typically last 3 hours. And
sure.
And then traffic and
yeah, we were talking. Well, you sent me a message. I actually wasn't up waiting on you. I don't want you to. I was actually I fell asleep, but I set an alarm for 12:15 or something like that, because you were like, oh, like 11:30 my time, and then I texted you and you're like, stuck in traffic. I was like, oh, okay, well, of course.
Man, traffic home was a cluster.
Is Canadian traffic, is it like the best traffic? Is it like the nicest traffic?
No, it's not. I mean, I don't think people get shot on a regular basis like they do in the U.S.
Happens every day, man.
But I don't know. I've seen some weird things when we were coming back. We were stopped by this like casino / nightclub, and there were two separate fights happening within like 50 yards of each other. So like we're waiting at this light, and then I just see like security and police like rush these two guys and like pin them to the ground, and I'm like, oh shit, Jesus. That's pretty crazy. And then we literally pull up like 15 more feet, and like just a little bit down the block, I can see like these two girls like just face to face, just like ready to throw. And I was like, guys, everyone just needs to calm down. I know your hockey team lost tonight, but like no reason to escalate it to that point.
I know that's one thing that I've never understood is like after like any kind of sporting event, like rioting or like people getting into like arguments or like fights. It's like at the end of the day, like you weren't playing the game. No. You know what I'm saying?
The best part was all of those people were all wearing Calgary Flames jerseys. Like they were on the same side. It's just, I don't get it. I mean,
not a good look.
Those two teams have like a pretty deep history. Obviously, they're 3 hours apart in the same province, and there's pretty good rivalry there. And when we were at the game, we got pretty decent seats. And there was another group of Oilers fans that were very vocal, and not like to the point where it wasn't even like class anymore. Like they were like nitpicking fights with Flames fans in the stands,
right?
And so when the game's over, so the Oilers won, but they almost blew it, which was why my voice is so cracky, because I was screaming my face off at them, which is also very Canadian.
Yes,
getting so many Canadian points right now. So we're getting ready to like walk down the rows like you would at any other sporting event, and Allie just kind of grabs me. She's like, "Let those guys get like further ahead because, we don't want to be associated with them because they're probably going to get into a fight tonight. So we waited, let them go down, and then we're walking, and there's another group of Oilers fans that were sitting a couple rows above us, and they like, hey, aren't you with those guys? And I was like, God, no, don't want to be associated. And they're like, yeah, us either. It's like they were not the fans that you want, that you'd be proud of.
No. And I think every sports team has that group of fans that takes things a little too far. Like we went, I think it was 2014. The Packers were in town in Kansas City, and me being a Packers fan, I was like, yeah, let's go. And my stepdad, he's a Packers fan, and my sister's a Packers fan, and my mom, of course, now is a Packers fan, even though she doesn't really, I don't think she really cares. But we all went to the game, and then after the game, there's Chiefs fans that were talking shit, just because we came into Kansas City, the Packers. I shouldn't say we. I always say we, I'm the starting center or something like that.
I like that you went to being a center. Hello, my name is Zach, and I want to be the biggest guy on the field.
Yeah, but I'm not. I'd be if we're being honest, I'm either a safety or I'm a receiver. Just my stature.
Yeah, you're a tall, lanky receiver.
Yeah. Although I've never played football on a team. But we, after the game, the Packers came in, I gotta stop saying we, the Packers came into the game, undefeated. Mm-hmm. It was, we were, 13-0 or something like that, and then came into Kansas City and got just demolished. I don't even know how it happened, but it was my first Packers game ever going to. And they got beat handily, and then after the game there's some Chiefs fans that were talking shit, and it's just oh, classy guys, just super classy.
So would you say that's the moment that you decided to be a Vikings fan?
Hey man,
because purple looks really good on you, I'm just saying.
Hey, thanks, dude. I don't hate the Vikings.
Isn't that impossible if you're in the same division?
No, I think some people take it a little too far. My wife's best friend's mom is a Packers fan, and we went over the summer. We went there, went to Chicago. She lives in Chicago, and she's a Packers fan, which is weird, but. We went there, and she was playing the little checkers. She had a little football, a Packers checkers game, Packers and Bears checkers game. And my daughter chose the Packers pieces, and then she had to put on a plastic, a rubber glove in order to play. She didn't want to touch the Bears, the little Bears helmets when she's playing checkers.
That's next level.
That's next level. So I was I'm not at that point. So I can deal with the other teams. I won't cheer for the other teams, but I don't hate them.
Yeah, I think because I've lived in, 3 different Canadian cities at this point, plus in the States. That Oilers are my team, and they always will be. Mm-hmm. But I will always cheer for the home team with the city that I'm living in, as long as they're not playing with the Oilers. You know? So I go to Flames games and I cheer for them and I want them to do well, even though they're the biggest rivalry for my hometown team. But I don't know. I just think it's one of those things that if you live in that city, I don't know, you can kind of not even jump on the bandwagon, but just be supportive and enjoy yourself. I don't know, have a good time at a game.
Yeah, earlier this year the Chiefs were just on a roll. They beat. The Patriots,
yeah,
they were beating all these teams, and they were red hot. And then I don't know what happened, but they have since fallen off.
I know. I've been rocking their defense.
Yeah, and it still looks like they're still gonna win the division. But it's the AFC West. It's not. It's whatever. Who cares? But. But yeah, so I was supporting them, and I don't go to Chiefs games and stuff just because don't want to spend the money. But I'll still cheer for them and stuff. And like you said, it's sort of like one of those things. Like unless the Packers are in town, I'm okay with supporting them. Plus, they're AFC, so it doesn't affect me one way or another. There is a hockey team in town. Did you know this? In Independence, it's not obviously NHL or anything like that, but they're the Mavericks.
That's exciting. Do you guys go see those games?
Yeah, we've been a few times. They're pretty fun to watch. I forget what league they are in. Let's see here. Woo, typing.
Those good old mechanical keyboards.
Just a regular old keyboard.
Just a clunky old keyboard, eh?
Just a clunker of a keyboard. It's the Kansas City Mavericks. Let's see here.
They're probably a farm team for someone, I assume.
Yeah. The ECHL.
ECHL. I can't say I've heard of that.
Let me see here.
I mean, there are a lot of different leagues.
Yeah.
It's probably like $10 to go to a game.
It's not expensive at all.
It's like one of those things where people say like went to a fight and a hockey game broke out.
Yeah.
Which they're actually really cracking down on in hockey, and I understand it, but it really makes me sad.
Yeah, that's the thing that I'm always like, oh, that's what sort of separates hockey from everything else. Like, because they can just duke it out on the ice. You know what I'm saying? Like, if somebody like if a fight broke out in the NFL, like the whole team's jumping in, the refs are jumping in, and people are
suspended, and
yeah, that just doesn't happen in hockey that I know of. But so that's something that they're trying to do, is crack down on that.
Yeah, I mean, it's still allowed, but the refs are less willing to let guys go, you know?
Yeah.
They try and break it up pretty quick, and I don't know. That's interesting. How do you feel about fighting in hockey? Like, as not being a hockey fan, is kind of like an outside observer. I mean, obviously have seen games before, but
yeah.
What are your thoughts?
My thoughts on fighting in hockey, like I said, I think it's one of those things that sort of just differentiates hockey from the other sports. So it's like, obviously, all the other sports aren't played on ice, but like, as somebody who doesn't really follow hockey closely, I sort of relate it to like sort of like a soccer, but on ice. You know what I'm saying? And I know that that probably doesn't make much sense to you, but I don't know. Like, I think fighting in hockey is fine, from a complete outside perspective. Just let them punch it out, because everybody gets it figured out at the end, and they're like hugging it out. Like, I've even seen fights before where like people are throwing punches or whatever, and at the end of it they just hug. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, man.
Like good,
I mean, you have a brother.
Punches. Yeah.
How many times did you guys just, something gets to a point and you duke it out and you're like, okay, I got that out of my system. Like
it happens.
I mean, that's
several times.
Totally such a guy thing, and I get that. Like, growing up with, like my childhood best friends, like we've definitely like, gone to fisticuffs numerous times when we were younger. I mean, obviously not now.
It's an argument or something, or somebody's being a dickhead or something like that. Especially
playing hockey, like God, this is so Canadian, but like the fist fights that would happen over just street hockey, like not like a casual pickup game of street hockey is,
yeah,
and like, oh man. But then after you do it, you get through it, and then you're like, all right, cool.
Yeah, I feel like I would have arguments and like little scuffles playing basketball and whatnot when I was growing up, but like probably not as extreme as any kind of like street hockey or anything like that. But
I remember vividly, probably when I was like 14, my best friend, like I've known him since I was 9. He was playing goalie, and I scored. Like, I deked him out, and I was being kind of a chirpy asshole.
Wait, hold on. What? You did what to him?
I deked him out.
I won't ask what that means. That sounds really disgusting, but go ahead.
You don't know what a deke is?
No, man, but it sounds like... don't know.
You know, like imagine a hockey player going on a breakaway and he like stick handles around the goalie and scores.
Oh, okay, like around the back of the net?
No, not like necessarily. That's called a wraparound.
Okay.
But just like, here's the net.
Like a juke?
Yeah, like a juke, but you like stick handle. It's called a deke. You deke them out.
Okay.
And I don't know. I think it was like, we had like actually a neighborhood Stanley Cup that we would play for. There's some sick rivalries on that thing.
You like pieced together, it was like made of popsicle sticks and like...
Well, it started off as something kind of janky like that, but then my one buddy bought one off of like an inflatable one off the internet, and it became quite the sought after trophy.
That's awesome.
Anyways, so we had a tournament and I deked him out and we won that game, and I was just like, what? And like whatever, like just beaking him. And he just
Wait, so you deked him? You beaked him?
I deked him, beaked him, and then I beat him, which unfortunately doesn't quite rhyme as well as I'd love it to. But yeah, I vividly remember him dropping his glove hand. So like his glove was off, and he grabs me by the collar, and he just starts feeding me shots while wearing his blocker.
That's great, man.
So,
That's great. Yeah, I don't think I can compete with that story. But I know that I don't know. I'm trying to remember exactly what it was, but I don't know. A bunch of people got hurt playing, doing stupid things. When you're kids, you know, of course, you just get hurt all the time. Every day you got a new bruise or some new injury or something like that.
So, I mean, we were kind of growing up around like the peak of Jackass, right?
Sure, so yeah. So you like shopping carts and all that stuff.
So we invented this sport. I call it a sport very loosely, obviously, that we called to snow jumping.
Snow jumping.
And because we lived in Canada and we would get a lot of snow. Uh-huh. And then like streets would plow it or people would shovel it, so there would be like huge snowbanks on the side of people's driveways, like maybe 4, 5, 6 feet.
Sure.
So we would like start just by jumping into them, and then we would be like jumping off of things into them. Yeah. And then eventually it progressed to us like sneakily climbing onto people's roofs and like jumping off the roof into the snow piles. Which is awesome. But it's also very dangerous. So then we're like, okay, well, you know, after a few people having some like near death experiences / getting banged up, like, we can do this a little bit safer.
Sure.
It's like, we have all this hockey equipment. Let's just put that on. So we would put our hockey equipment on, helmets, shoulder pads, like everything, and then our winter jackets on, and we'd be running around and just like body checking each other off roofs into like these snow piles. And
it's probably much more safe than what I was doing when we were. I was big into wrestling, like professional, like the
yeah, I mean everyone
WWF or whatever.
Yeah.
Joe likes to say that he wasn't, and he gives me a hard time. But he probably was watching it and just not telling people.
Just
anyway,
sitting there quietly.
Yeah. I was big into it, and so we we had a trampoline over at my house and also at my friend Larry's house, and we would be just like rock bottom or like just like doing like the
power bombing your friends.
Yeah, and it eventually got to the point where we would like we moved the trampoline next to a tree. And then we jumped from the trampoline up onto like a branch of the tree. And then like we would use that as the turnbuckle, and then we would do like the big like frog splash or like
that's amazing.
The what do they call it? The swanton bomb or whatever. We did that stuff, and then it got more extreme, and then we moved it next to the house, and then we were doing like stuff off the house. Which, like, looking back at it, like, I've seen so many videos online of, like, people going through trampolines and just, like, completely wrecking themselves. And that never happened, luckily. But I could have seen how it could have happened, I
mean, I got pretty messed up doing something very similar. so in that group of friends that I had, and he was kind of like the ringleader of some of those dumb things that we would do. So he had a trampoline, and he was a brother of 4, and he was the second youngest. So we had 2 older brothers. They were like 3 years and then like 5 years older than us. So we were probably 13, maybe. And his parents were out of town, so they left their oldest brother,
who was
Ryan,
18 at the time.
He was like 18 at the time. So they had a party. And Ian was like, "You need to come over. My brothers are having a party. It's going to be awesome." I was like, "All right, cool." We're like 13-year-old boys, like, "Yeah, cool, whatever." So we're outside, like jumping on the trampoline, doing whatever. And it was next to their garage. They had a detached garage. And we used to jump off the garage onto the trampoline.
Yeah.
And then, like, you get bigger height and you do like a flip or whatever, just go as high as you can. So in this party, we're climbing, everyone's like climbing up the fence onto the garage roof, jumping off the garage onto the trampoline.
Yeah.
And his brother Mark is on the trampoline. And I'm like, "Mark, don't double bounce me. Don't double bounce me." And he's like, "Don't worry, I won't. So I jump. And
he double bounced you.
And I could see his face just light up. And I was just like, oh my God. So what I should have done was just landed feet first and let my knees like buckle and absorb the shock.
Yeah.
But my thought was, no, that's too scary. So I go to land on my butt and he double bounces me and I shoot back up. And because I was leaning back, so like the direction that I flew was back, and I landed on the garage roof, rolled down, and then fell off the garage roof onto the ground. And was so messed up.
Oh,
and,
wow.
And Ian like runs to me and Mark is like looking at me. And I was just like, "What happened?" I was like, "Mark, you weren't supposed to double bounce me." Like just losing my mind. And he's like, "Are you okay?" And I'm like, "No, I'm not okay." And there's like all these like 16 to like 20-year-olds at this party like looking at us. Yeah,
Gosh,
good times.
that's embarrassing.
Yeah.
You still don't live that down every time you see him?
No.
You just you shoot Mark. Is that his name? Mark?
Yeah.
You shoot him some evil glances every time you see him?
Motherfucker double bouncing me. We used to play this game too. Ian and I would be jumping on the trampoline and his brothers would come home and they would just like whip soccer balls at us like dodgeball while we're on the trampoline. Which sounds like really fun, except we weren't willing participants in it.
No, yeah.
And you basically had to stay on the trampoline so that you could have some kind of advantage in dodging whatever was flying at you.
Sure. I don't know that people ever, I'm sure we did the thing where you like throw a football or whatever and you got to try to like jump and like catch the football while you're on the trampoline, obviously all that stuff. But there was one time where I was like, "Oh, you know what I'm going to do?" We had like a lot of these stories happened at my friend Larry's growing up because he just lived down the road. Which I'm going to shoot. I still haven't talked to him, but hopefully we can get him on the podcast. I think that'd be a pretty good one. But we had his trampoline, like he had a really big backyard. So we had it like out in the middle of the backyard where there wasn't anything else. And I was like, "Oh, I'm going to do a front flip off the trampoline. Like I'm just gonna like jump off the trampoline. I'm gonna jump as high as I can. I'm gonna do a front flip and just stick it, you know."
You over rotated, didn't you?
No, under rotated. And you ever do like, I don't know if you ever done this like on like a diving board or something where you're like, "Oh, I'm gonna do like a double front flip," and then you just like freak out mid front flip and you like don't rotate enough or like whatever. You're trying to bail, but it's too late. Like it just
you're committed.
Well, that was a problem. I didn't commit to it. So I jumped off and I like started to do the flip, and then I started like looking around and seeing like how high I was, and I was like,
"This is a bad idea."
I was like, "No, don't do it." But it was already too late. I got at the apex of my jump. And so I started to flip, but I freaked out, and so I like came down and I landed on my head. But like I think it was like I was almost like it was like the back of my head, because I remember like falling on my back but hitting my head specifically. And so shook it off. Probably 20 minutes later, I tried it again, and I was like, "Oh, okay, I'm gonna do it this time." And then I actually stuck it the second time. Felt pretty good about it, but it was one of those stupid things you do as a kid, and you're like, "Yeah, looking back, probably could have talked myself out of that, and not done it, but is what it is."
Yeah, we used to do a thing called suicide flips.
It just sounds great.
It's
really safe.
It sounds exactly. I mean, I'm going to use this sweet little bottle of Dristan as an example. So this is your head.
Okay.
And this is like the trampoline.
Okay.
So you're jumping up and down, like straight up and down.
Yep.
And you jump and you'd half rotate.
Okay.
And then you'd come right down and we'd say who could get as close as possible before they would tuck. And you would just tuck your head and land on your back.
Yeah.
And Ian, again, invented these because he's crazy.
So you're swan diving. You're swan diving.
Yeah, swan, exactly.
Yeah, okay.
Swan dive with as last minute tuck of your head, so you just kind of land on your back.
Gotcha.
And when we were first learning to do these, his mom's like kitchen window would like overlook the backyard, so she would see a lot of the dumb shit we're doing. So we would try and like tone it down, and he'd be like, "Mom, come look at my flip. It's really good." So she'd come outside, and he'd like get as high as he could. And then he would just come like nose diving straight down into the trampoline and then tuck his head at the last minute. And she thought like he was going to break his neck. And she's like losing her mind. Like, "Hey, Ed, what are you doing?" Like, "No more flips on the trampoline." He would just do that off of anything. Like, just a fearless kid. I loved it.
Did that ever go poorly?
I mean, we've had a lot of poor trampoline accidents. I think he's pretty good. Like, he was pretty acrobatic in doing his flips. Though I did see him once attempt, I think it was a triple backflip or a double backflip.
Yeah.
And he over rotated and smashed his head on like the pole, like the circular pole that like surrounds the circumference of the trampoline.
Oh man.
It made probably the grossest noise, one of the grossest noises I've ever heard. And he got up and was like, "Well, that sucked. Let's try it again." And I was like, "No."
It was like a sort of muffled like thump or something.
It sounded like a softball hitting an aluminum bat.
Oh Jesus.
Yeah, it did not sound good. And I was just like, "God damn it." We also used to play this game called Rodeo. And you would lay on your stomach like flat on the trampoline and you'd like hold the mat like in between the springs, and then like one or two guys would stand next to you and they would bounce and try and like bounce you, and it was like how long could you hold on, and it'd get to the point where you'd be like perpendicular to the trampoline or like going over the side, but you were just like, "I need to hold on." Jesus. Just I don't know where I don't know where boys think of these things. It's so dumb.
Really,
but at the time it was like, "What do you want to do today?" Like, "I don't know, do you want a rodeo?" Like, "Yeah, sure. Let's rodeo."
Yeah, let's rodeo. We were playing. I remember. I'm sorry, Nick, my brother. He took a lot of damage when he was growing up. I feel bad about it now.
Is that why he became a wrestler, so he could defend himself from you guys?
Probably. That would make a lot of sense. He was actually really good. But one time I remember, I don't know why we chose Nick to be the person that was receiving the damage on this one, but like this is obviously a terrible idea, but we were like, "Oh well, hey Nick, how about you hide behind a tree and we'll just start throwing rocks at the tree and like see how close we can get to actually hitting you, but just dodge it, just
dodge it."
Yeah. And so I threw a rock and he like I had two rocks. So I threw the first rock, he dodged it, and then right after I threw the second one, he popped his head back out. So I sort of just imagined where he would be, and he popped his head back out and smacked him on the forehead.
Just dinged him, eh?
Yeah, and he just started bleeding and stuff. But we were fine. You just go inside,
you live.
Get a little bit of paper towel, put it on there. It was all good. Hold up. Hey, let's talk about our sponsor today, Audible. Head over to audibletrial.com/jumbled. Get your free audiobook and a 30-day free trial. It's free. Everybody likes free stuff. So jump in. feet first. Enjoy actually the water is really nice over here at Audible. So you should check out this month's book, For We Are Many. This is book 2 of the Bobiverse. It's by Dennis Taylor, narrated by Ray Porter. It's got a running time of 8 hours and 58 minutes. You don't have to pay attention to your coworkers at all. At all. You can just, the entire day, and even an hour after that, get there early. Get there like 30 minutes early. Stay 30 minutes late. Guess what? Now you got a full 9 hours where you haven't even looked at anybody. You're too busy doing data entry or freaking the Dewey Decimal System if you're still working in the library. But hey, who likes libraries? Because you got Audible. So the whole premise of this book, if you weren't around for the first go around, Bob is a guy, he died. And he's been made into artificial intelligence for a probe. Where we left off, he's floating out into space. He's apparently been cruising for 40 years, and they're looking for habitable planets for the human race to inhabit because the Earth has fallen into a nuclear winter of sorts. Of course, people out there trying to eradicate the rest of the human race because they bad, you know. And I hope that Bob really, you know, he really takes the reins and saves the human race. I have a feeling that it's all gonna turn out fine, right? Because everybody likes to survive. Anyway, head over to audibletrial.com/jumbled. Get your free 30-day trial and a free audiobook. I got somewhere to be, and that's back on the podcast with Johnny. I remember when I was growing up, and this is sort of embarrassing to say, but I liked rollerblading. That was my jam. That's
like, did you have like this, like the skate park rollerblades, or like?
No, I didn't even have the skate park rollerblades. I just had, like, my buddies had the skate park rollerblades with like the little pad to grind the rails and stuff like that. I didn't even have any of that stuff. So I just wanted to hang out with my buddies who were doing that. So I just had standard pair of rollerblades. And I remember one time they were like, "Oh, so and so's got a half pipe that they made that like them and their dad made in like their backyard." And I was like, "Oh, okay, I've never tried that before." So I was like, "Oh, let's go give it a shot." So first of all, this place is like quarter to a half mile away from, well, probably not even that, or probably more than that, probably like a full mile away from my house. Mm-hmm. So we didn't, back then you just sort of just went, you didn't get a car ride, you didn't do any of that nonsense, you just got out, rollerbladed across busy roads, all that stuff. We finally got, I think at this point I was middle school. Middle school age, so 12, 13, something like that. And we rollerbladed out to this guy's house. It was the jankiest looking half pipe I've ever seen in my life, but and it wasn't that tall, honestly. Like, I feel like I was taller than it, but maybe that's just my brain remembering this, and that might be wrong, and you'll find out why that might be wrong. So I got up on the half pipe I was getting ready to drop in. Remember, I'd never done this before. This is like brand new for me. So I dropped in, and my feet came out from under me. Like, I dropped in, my feet came out from under me, and I went back and I smacked my head. And I'm pretty sure I got like a concussion or something like that.
Yeah, probably. Because
I don't recall the next 2 hours or so.
Yeah, like that's called a concussion.
Yeah,
a serious one.
Yeah, it was probably pretty serious. But I recall some stuff, but I don't. But like, apparently rollerbladed all the way back home. And I remember telling him like, "No, I'm okay." I remember saying that. "No, I'm all right. I'm good." And then I started going off, but it was like,
you don't remember getting home.
my feet were very unsure. I remember I think I rollerbladed by somebody I knew on the way home, and they were like talking to me, and I was like, "Oh, hey," or whatever. But I kept going, and then finally got home, and then I had homework I needed to do, so I started trying to do my homework, but the English language just looked like hieroglyphics. Like, it was really weird. Like,
I've been there.
I can't really explain exactly how it was. But
I know exactly how you feel, because I had the same thing in 2012. getting a concussion in hockey, and I drove home.
I think I remember you telling me about that.
I didn't remember driving home. Get home, drove to work the next day, and I'm like sitting in front of my computer trying to read emails, and I knew like what the letters were, but I couldn't connect the meaning.
Yeah, dude, super scary.
Yeah, it's a really weird feeling. So I can totally relate to that.
And they say you're not supposed to fall asleep when you have a concussion. But like I was like, oh god, I'm not feeling great. So I just closed my book up. I was like, I'll take a little nap. I'll get up, and then
15 hours later.
Yeah, like 4 weeks later, I got up and did my homework.
It was beautiful.
No, but I think it was just a standard nap. I think, who knows? But I got up and I could actually. It had enough time had passed where my brain was sort of getting back to normal. I think I was still sort of out of sorts the rest of the day, but yeah, that was probably the scariest moment of my young life.
I give you props for attempting to drop in, especially on rollerblades, because like, I mean, I grew up skateboarding, but most Canadians can rollerblade because we can skate, so we would play like rollerblade hockey or whatever, but I would never attempt anything in a skate park on rollerblades. But yeah, skateboarding, learning to drop in, that was a very frustrating experience for sure.
Yeah,
because it's just, you have to commit, right? Like you have to just, at least on a skateboard, and I imagine it's pretty similar with rollerblades, is you just have to lean so far forward.
Yeah.
And if you're not willing to do that, you're just falling backwards and smashing your head. So
yeah, I don't know for certain, but you would think that on rollerblades it's similar, except that you don't have an axle connecting your feet. You know what I'm saying? So it's like your feet can just move at separate angles or whatever, but at any, like when you're dropping in, at some point you're only going to have 4 wheels on the ground, your front and your back, you know, and then the middle ones might not have the best grip on when you're dropping in.
Yeah.
Because it's all inline, you know, so yeah, it was, I never went back there. I never went back. I was like, no.
Probably a good decision.
I was like, yeah, I think I'm good. I think I still did some rollerblading after that, but it was mostly just like jumping over things. Like I would just get a lot of speed and then just jump like, I don't know, 20 feet or something like that, like off of a high, like over like a grassy hill or something to a street below. I would do stuff like that, but
which is still pretty badass.
Yeah, it wasn't bad. I got pretty good at that. I remember just wearing out wheels like it was my job, but that's not something I really admit to that often. So saying it on a public forum such as a podcast is a new thing for me. So I was a fruit booter, as they.
I was just gonna say a fruit booter. I remember going to the skate park. It's like skaters and fruit booters and like BMXers, and it was like this weird like, oh, this is my group, you guys all suck. And it's like, no, this is my group, you guys all suck. And it's like, we're kind of all doing the same thing with a slightly different vehicle. Like,
yeah, we kind of all suck, honestly, if we're being honest here.
Man, you know what's even funnier is when I was growing up, I mean, scooters kind of became big when I was phasing out of skateboarding and getting more into other sports. But I remember like scooters, like that was like the low end of the totem pole. Like, yeah. For me growing up, it was like scooters, rollerbladers, and then like BMXers or skateboarders kind of at the top.
Right.
For like the being cool.
Right.
And now, like, I don't know if you've looked at like where like professional scootering has come or gone.
No, I haven't.
They're insane.
Are they?
It's like the coolest mix between BMXing and skateboarding and rollerblading. And watch some YouTube videos. And the things that those kids can do now, or adults even, it's just like, that is so cool. I mean, I would never be able to attempt or try it or even fathom how to do that. But I'm like, yeah, you guys are probably like the coolest people at the skate park right now. Like, way to climb the ladder. Good job. And like, no one rollerblades anymore.
That's what Drake was talking about when he said started from the bottom. Now we're here. He's a
Canadian icon, that guy.
He likes scooters, and so he started at the bottom with the scooter people, and now they're at the top. I think it was sort of looked at the same way when, for us in the States too. It was like, oh, you got a scooter? Like, okay.
You need a skateboard with handlebars?
Yeah. I remember I had a like a road bike. It was like a hybrid, I think, mountain and road bike, but it got stolen. I think late high school, somebody broke into our garage and took me and my dad's bikes. They were Schwinn's. They were super nice. And that really sucked, but I didn't have a bike anymore, but I needed to get around somehow. And I remember I think it was between freshman and sophomore year at Graceland over the summer, I was like, my car wasn't fixed yet. I didn't have any other means to get around. So, but there was a scooter. There was a scooter in my garage, and I was like, I need to go see my girlfriend or whatever. And so I literally like did a scooter like for miles, like the longest
just
scootering
up a storm.
Just the longest scootering session anybody's ever done.
Were you hopping curbs and everything?
Yeah, dude, I was flying. There was a point where there wasn't a lot of traffic on the road, and I actually got out on the road just so I, have like because they just recently asphalted, and so I was like,
just the wind in your hair, just you and the scooter and the open road.
Me and the scooter and some hills. Luckily, I didn't wipe out, because that could have been bad. But I remember because my girlfriend was at work, and I remember getting to her work, and she was like, "Oh, how'd you get here?" I was like, "Oh, I scootered over here," and then like she and like her friend just like laughed. And I felt like, I was like, oh yeah, I probably deserve that, but
I put so much effort to get here, and this is how you respond.
It's like shitty. But yeah, it probably just looks so goofy because those scooters, like, unless you buy like, I don't know what scooters are like nowadays, but
they have some sick pro ones that are like meant for like skate parks that look really cool, and I was like, man, I would maybe consider rocking one of these,
Yeah, but like, I don't know if they make them for tall people, is what
I was getting at. They make them for adults. Adult-sized scooters, yeah.
See, because this one was just like a regular, just like a kid size, not even like a small, but it was like a Razor scooter.
Yeah, I remember those very well.
And so, like, I'm sure it looked goofy as shit, but like, I was like,
I'm 6'4" like dude, like rocking this 3 foot tall scooter.
Yeah, yeah. But this was like the summer where I was, pushing carts and working like 3 jobs, and like I was doing P90X that summer and stuff. So I was actually looking good, but like still probably looked a little goofy.
Scooter mania right there.
Probably looked a little goofy, Yeah, that's fun. I had to completely switch topics here. I don't know if you've been following along with the news. We got another sexual deviant in the news, Matt Lauer.
I mean, I think people are all just pervs in general. I don't know. I mean, I'm not justifying, like, it's really shitty.
Yeah.
And it's good that like people are coming forward and shedding light on it, but at this point now, I'm just like not even surprised.
Not even surprised, yeah. The thing that I saw, which sort of creeped me out, I'm gonna read it. It's this highlighted portion in this picture I have. It's talking about his office and stuff at the Today Show. It says his office was in a secluded space, and he had a button under his desk that allowed him to lock his door from the inside without getting up.
That's like next level creepy.
Yeah, so he could invite, people, girls, women into, not girls, but like women into his, as far as we know, not girls, but he could invite the women into his office, and then just like they'd sit down, and then he could just like press a button without them even knowing it, and it just locked his door, and so nobody could like walk in and like witness him being a pervert, just really, really wild stuff. And me personally, I like to think the best of people and sort of give everybody the sort of benefit of the doubt, but it's like with something like this, I don't know if there's any benefit of the doubt to be given,
No, yeah, that's just sleaze. Could you imagine, like, setting up your office, like even talking to a contractor, like a construction person, like, yo, I want this secret button that locks the door.
Yeah, but the way he probably put it was like, I'm lazy. I don't like getting up out of my chair and walking to my door and locking the door. So, like, sometimes I just want to, like, remotely lock my door. And, like, I should be able to do that.
In his office?
Yeah, in his office.
While you're sitting in it? Like, I mean, I've closed the door in my office for whatever reason. I'm on the phone or I'm meeting someone or I need, some quiet time.
Sure.
But never in my life have I been like, I'm in my office. You know what? I think I need to lock this.
Yeah, well, it's because you're a good guy.
Oh, okay. Well, that's good.
That's what it is, Johnny. You're a good guy. You're not unwilling to. It's like some people are like just assholes, number one, and then number two, they're perverts. So like their pervert asshole mixture is just perfect enough where and I think they need it, obviously.
I mean, yeah. I don't know.
Yeah, we can't relate. Number one, I don't have an office. Number two, we're not bad people. So we couldn't ever. Plus, we're not lazy. Like it's one thing. Like if I was like, like I'm having a private conversation, like that nobody needs to necessarily walk in on, like like hiring or firing, or like even like a personal conversation with, my wife or something like that. Like if I need space, like I could understand locking a door in that situation, but
to keep people out, maybe.
Yeah, not to keep people in. Never to keep people in.
That's that's the part that's really like, why?
Yeah, like if I walked into my boss's office and he was like, "All right, have a seat," and then he just pulled out a button and he pressed a button and it just locked his door, I'd be like, what the hell's going on? How do I get out of here? I'm breaking glass at that point,
Getting through.
Yeah, I'm getting out however I can.
This door cannot contain me.
Yeah, I would say Hulk smash before I did it, and then
just beating on the door.
Oh man, good times.
I had a question for you, knowing that you're smart with computers.
Let's define smart with computers first.
Well, I mean, you know how to turn them off and on.
Yep. Okay, so I'm smart. Yep.
How do you feel about all this like AI stuff going on, and do you feel like this Sophie robot thing is real? Like, I don't know. I keep seeing things, and I should, again, probably do some more in-depth research.
Yeah.
But I had a buddy who I was talking to and was, like, speaking quite passionately against, like, robot rights, basically, as if there was a group of people trying to push that, like, robots will have rights because of intelligence, like artificial intelligence, obviously, but...
I think that's the main thing, is it's artificial. So it's like, nobody's getting pissed off that, I mean, some people probably do, that people use artificial sweeteners. It's like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I think the whole point of it being like, since it's artificial intelligence, like, it's been man-made, it's not natural, they obviously shouldn't have rights. Like, that's my thinking behind it, is like, if it somehow transcended into... I don't know. I feel like there's a fine line. Like if it was somehow transplanted into a human body, then I feel like we're having a different conversation. Maybe, but
so it's the body, not the.
I think so, and I don't know. I don't think anything that's been manufactured by a person or by something else should have the same rights as a natural.
What if they find a way to take your brain, download everything in it, and transfer it to a robot?
Well, that's what I'm saying. If it came from a natural, if it came from something natural, then I think those rights need to be transferred.
But you could say that artificial intelligence did come from something natural because it was created by a human.
Yeah,
like where do you draw that? Where do you draw that line? Like
it's a direct versus indirect thing. So if the intelligence came directly from a human, like it was me and my intelligence was transplanted into was migrated over to a robot or to a robot brain, yeah, then I feel like that's different from something. Hey, can you just take the bag? Okay.
So we're obviously not to our loyal listeners, not recording at our normal evening time. So we have my dogs running around and like, I don't know what they're doing, but I can hear them. And then, you know, Zach's kids. So
yeah, I'm gonna.
But
in post, I will be removing all mentions of my children and stuff like that.
But at least no one's eating this podcast.
Nobody's eating. I have been drinking.
Me too.
But I've been pretty quiet about it. Johnny's been blowing snot rockets every now and then, but like
I'm trying so
really
hard
far
to hide
away.
them.
He's leaning real far away from.
You
You
have
should
a
see
great-
his wall behind him though. It's just covered with boogers.
It's just coated. I really don't like that purple tint. I don't know.
He likes the green, the purple and green.
Yeah,
mixture.
well, you know, it's a good combination.
It is a good combination.
So have fun in post cleaning out my sniffly nose and my dogs and your kids.
I feel like it's like obviously I've mentioned my kids on the podcast before, but I don't want their voices on the podcast. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm,
Anyway,
that's fair.
so getting back to the artificial intelligence stuff, like if it was my brain and it got migrated over to
But it's not your brain. It's just the data from your brain.
But that's what I'm saying. It originally came from a brain.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? If it came from my brain and was migrated over to a server or a hard drive or whatever, then yeah, I think we're talking something different. But if it's just like a robot who learns over time because of algorithms that humans have created, it's a different conversation. You see what I'm saying?
Do you think robots are going to take over the world? Are we going to have a real life version of Terminator?
I honestly don't think so. I don't think so. I don't know. I mean, I think it could get to a point where robots are able to fix other robots. I think at that point, you know, or like, I mean, that's the whole point of robots, right? Is to make life easier for people. Mm-hmm. And so I feel like they're always going to be sort of like in a state of servitude. You know?
Yeah,
but
hope
I don't foresee like what was that movie iRobot or whatever it was?
Yeah, iRobot.
Yeah, where they had like a set of principles they had to follow, like 5 different, but it always included like
Do not hurt humans.
Yeah, do not hurt humans. Yeah, so yeah, I feel like
Didn't this like, is it Google or Facebook artificial intelligence robot basically say that like humans are not necessary or something, and that's what people are freaking out about?
probably did, but I mean it's probably true as well.
Yeah, man, that's fair.
I mean, as far as like the survival of the planet goes, humans don't have to be around. You know, I remember seeing a, I think it was just like a YouTube documentary. It was like after or like if humans left or something like that. But it was like it showed like things that would happen.
I remember that. That was like on Discovery Channel or something.
Yeah, but it was like showing like how the world would progress without humans being there. So like 3 days after all the nuclear reactors would start overheating and, you know, have nuclear meltdown, and then it went into like thousands of years and hundreds of thousands of years, and like I think the last things that would like go away would be I think they said like monuments or like the Eiffel Tower, like metal, all metallic structures would be like one of the last human things to go away. But,
So, hypothetically speaking, though all 3 are possibilities, would you rather fight a war against robots, aliens, or zombies?
ooh, see, that's the thing. Robots are sort of like almost. It depends on what type of robot we're talking about. Are we talking about robots that people have already created, or are we talking about robots from 2,000 years in the future where they're able to fix themselves? You know what I'm saying?
I mean, I think we're not 2,000 years away from robots fixing themselves. I imagine we're probably within our life period. There's going to be like, imagine the most advanced robot now, like that Honda robot house cleaner thing that's like bipedal and has some functioning hands, but just strap some guns onto that.
Yeah. There's one that looked like a goat dog brachiosaurus. I don't know if you've ever seen
a goat dog brachiosaurus.
Yeah, so it was like its legs bent, all of the legs bent the same direction like a goat, and then it had it sort of looked like a dog the way it ran, because it could like full sprint, like 20 miles an hour sprint or something like that, and then it had a big. It looked like a hand. It looked like Jim Henson was controlling the thing, and but it was like unloading dishes from the dishwasher, like with its mouth, and like picking things up and putting it like up high. That's why it had the really long neck. So it was almost like an arm, but it was its head.
Interesting. So yeah, I guess a modern day robots, zombies, or aliens.
Okay, if we're talking about modern, like has already been created, I would probably choose the robots.
Yeah, I think I would too.
I'd probably choose the robots. Just because, like, I mean, you see the robots, like, that can run fast or whatever, but, I mean...
A lot of them still struggle with stairs.
If you deke them good enough...
Deke them, that's right. You gotta deke them.
If you deke them good enough, then they're gonna fall over or whatever. I even saw one that was, like, it slipped on a banana peel. It was, like, the most cartoonish thing ever.
Like legitimately slipped on a banana peel?
It legitimately slipped on a banana peel, but then it was able to, like, get itself back
Catch its balance, yeah.
No, not catch its balance. It fell over, but it was able to...
pick itself up?
It was able to pick itself up.
Okay, so I wonder what robots will be like in 50 years. I mean, on episode, 700, we'll have this... we'll come back to this discussion.
Okay.
And figure that out. That's way off, yeah.
14 years of podcasting. If we get to episode 700, if we're doing one a week,
yeah,
it's not bad, man.
See where we're at.
I think within 50 years we're gonna see some pretty significant robotics changes. I read
a short story like a bunch of years ago. Is she building a house back there?
I don't know what she's doing back there.
I read a short story that it was like robots were kind of like iRobot functionality, like as far as intelligence and like agility, but they had like a human skin, so they looked like humans.
Yeah, is that the Sophie robot you're talking about?
Kind of. I mean, this is a short story that I read like 6 years ago or something. Anyways, they were originally started, and I think it was like, it's kind of weird, and I don't know how I feel about admitting this, but it was like, the idea behind these robots were branched off of like sex robots, but then they became so smart that they became like wives or husbands for people who were like lonely or widows or widowers, and they could like do like your taxes and manage your investments. So like these people were getting like making a buttload of money off of robots, because they're like, oh, I can read the market and then I can invest your money and fix your finances and all this stuff. But then they started turning on people. So I mean, I feel like that's what's going to happen, is that we're going to create a companion robot, and then because humans are all assholes, as we've previously discussed. Yeah. The robot's going to be like, man, you're kind of a jerk. I'm just going to choke you out. Because I have far superior strength to you.
Absolutely, yeah. I have a hydraulic press for an arm.
So would that be like the inverse of like how to protect ourselves from that? Like, why do I need to make a robot that can bench press 300 pounds? Like, we have total control over that. Like, your robot, your max weight capacity is like 50 pounds.
Yeah, I'm sorry, sir. I cannot do that. Oh, okay. I'll call my buddy Jim, and he'll come over and help me move this log or whatever,
like those robots, they'll be taking multiple trips to and from the car when it's grocery day, and I'm a one trip guy. Like,
the opposite of me.
I'm committed to that one trip.
My arms could nearly be falling off, and I'm like, nope, I'm not coming back out here, especially in the winter.
Oh yeah,
it's like nah, it's a one trip thing for me. And I know you're probably not lugging around groceries in your car, so it's probably a trip outside for you, since your wife can't park in the garage yet.
Well, our garage is detached, so either way, it's a trip
gotcha.
through the backyard or through the front, and it is closer coming from the front. So, but yeah, we take the groceries from the outside.
Oh, okay. Yeah, cool. Do you have any other talking points, Johnny?
No, I just wanted to pick your brain on that, knowing you're the IT guy of the group.
Yeah, I feel like that's the main thing, is just to make humans' lives easier, but it could definitely... There's a fine line that you got to walk, just because, like we said, they have the capacity, I mean, if we make them that way, to be super strong, or to think logically 100% of the time. That's the thing about humans, is like, so much of the time, like, there's logic thinking, and then there's like
Emotional.
Emotional thinking as well. So it's like, logic is usually going to win out.
I'm going to get a robot that is like made to your specifications. And then I'm going to
replace me on the podcast. Is that what you're saying?
No. And then I'm going to get bunk beds and then make it sleep on the top bunk, and just every night, like, hey Zach.
Oh man, we had some good times. We what was that game we played? It was like you'd say a word, and then you had to put another word with it. So I would say like apple, and you'd say like Apple Jacks, and I would say like
Jack stand.
Yeah, Jack Skeleton or something like that. And you'd say Skeleton Key, and I'd say Key West, and you'd say West Coast.
Yeah, that was a fun game. You always beat me at that game, though.
Yeah, you gave up pretty easy. I think we played that maybe like 10 times, and you're like, all right, I'm never going to win, so...
It's pointless.
But we also didn't have a time limit. I feel like there should have been like a shot clock or something on it, like if you can't answer within 5 seconds.
Wait, like half asleep, and then, I got it!
Yeah, you'd be like on the cusp of just falling asleep, and it'd be like 3 a.m, and I'd just scream it out.
You know what's funny, Zach? That I was at my parents' house, and I don't know how this happened, but you had that like beige, like kind of feather blanket that year.
Is that at your parents' house?
It's at my parents' house. I walked into their basement, and they had like a bunch of blankets, and I looked at it, and I was like,
it's like that
yellowish blanket, yeah,
that yellowish orange one.
Yeah,
I think I gave that to you. I was like, nah, I don't even really want it. That's so funny, weird. Man.
But yeah, it's still alive.
That thing was always poking me with the quills popping out of the.
Yeah, I like feather blankets. They're nice and heavy. I like heavy blankets.
Yeah, it's nice. I know they have like weighted blankets.
I know. Like, I kind of want to get one.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I sort of like. I like having the option, just like. I don't know, sort of like. Throwing a blanket off or whatever in the middle of the night. I don't want to have to work too hard.
200 pounds.
No, I'm going to get a blanket that weighs a ton, and just on the sides, and then, there's no escape. You have to have your
stuck.
You have to have your robot friend come in and help you.
There you go. Quick sleeping story about weights before we go. That just brought me back to a time when I was younger, and I was like, man, I need to find an easier way to work out. And oh, look at that. That's so beautiful.
Oh, it's Moana. Hey, go on. I'll see you in a minute.
And I was like, I need to find a way to maximize my time. And how can I work out easiestly, like in the easiest way? And this was around the time when like ankle weights were becoming really popular. Like I was probably like 12 or 13. Like I was an idiot kid. And I was like, well, what if I just wore ankle weights and then went to sleep? Because like you move around in your sleep, right?
Yeah.
And I was like, so like I'd be working out, but I'd be sleeping. It'd be no problem.
Yeah, you've got restless leg syndrome too, so your legs are completely beat in the middle or in the morning.
So I like stole all my mom's ankle weights and strapped on like 3 pairs on my legs and went to sleep and woke up the next morning, and I like couldn't walk. Like my groin was pulled. Like my knees were like sore. Like I was just like, this was a horrible idea. But then I was like, well, I guess I kind of got a pretty good workout, like a nice 8-hour workout. Yeah.
So you figured you would just do it consistently, just like with any workout. It takes a little bit of time before you get to the point where you're feeling strong.
Yeah, I don't recommend it. It was a bad decision.
That's fair. Well, hey Johnny, I'm out of talking points, and I think you are too.
Yeah, we're good.
All right,
you got
man.
you got some. Go spend some time with family. You can watch some football. I'm having an amazing comeback in fantasy, and I'm now in third place from last place to third place, like 7 straight wins.
Congratulations, man.
And I'm actually playing Allie this week, and it's going to be tight. But basically, between me and Allie, and we have one other friend, it's like a battle between who's going to make the last 2 spots in playoffs. And I'm pretty sure I'm going to be finishing third and be pretty happy. But it's a heated rivalry in our house right now. So
who's your starting quarterback?
My starting quarterback right now is I've flip-flopped around. I have Matt Ryan in, which
that's not bad. He's
not bad.
Mr. Consistent.
And that's what it was, honestly. I have Matt Stafford, but he was listed as questionable for today, and he's playing Baltimore, so I wasn't sure.
Yeah.
But I had Ben Roethlisberger early in the season, and they were not doing very well. So
he had, what was it? This they're 8-2 or 9-2 now. So it's like after his second game, I think he made a quote like, "Oh, maybe I just don't have it anymore, or maybe I'm losing it." And then like he goes on to have like one of the best seasons.
Yeah, it literally. I think he was getting like the first 2 games, he got like 15 points a week, and I was pissed. So I pitched him, and then like he had that whatever, and then like 30 points a game. I was like, God damn it.
I think Ben Roethlisberger is one of those quarterbacks. Like it's sort of like how Eli Manning has gotten the shaft. You know, they're not starting him this week, which is it's going to end his streak of like 200 some odd games starting, and they're not going to start him to play Geno Smith, which doesn't make a lot of sense to me. Like it's Geno Smith, you know, prototypical backup, but I don't know. Like if you have somebody like Ben Roethlisberger, I feel like you should just always hold on to him, regardless of how he's doing. You know.
I had a bunch of injuries though. Like this has been a bad year in the NFL, I think, for injuries in general. So
it has.
I've had to flip flop a lot of players, and basically my comeback happened to literally me just like scouring the best free agents in the league and just recycling them every week, just trying to pull the people who have the highest predictions of points, and it's paid off. So,
well, you know, you got the hot hand. Keep it going, man.
I'm gonna do my best. Make you proud. Go Packers, right? Yeah,
Go Packers. Yeah. Not any of those other ones. We got to win pretty much the rest of our games to get into the playoffs, but that's a different story.
You guys got a tough season.
Well, but the next 2 games are winnable. It's the Buccaneers, which have the 32nd ranked defense, and then the Browns. And then if we can beat the Buccaneers and the Browns, which are 2 very winnable games. If we don't beat the Browns, I'm going to be disappointed and ashamed. But after that, Aaron Rodgers could come back. So we could get a wild card spot depending on how things shake out. But anyway, we'll end it off here. Thanks everybody for checking back in for another episode of Jumbled. It's been a fun one. Hope you guys have enjoyed as well. We are on iTunes. Please head over, rate and review. We're on Google Play Music. We're on Player.fm, Stitcher. We're on SoundCloud. All those things are over on our SoundCloud page. They're all linked there. All of our social media is at Jumbled Podcast, or just search for Jumbled Podcast. We should show up. If you have any questions, anything else, you can send it to us at jumbledpodcast@gmail.com. And thanks again to our sponsor, Audible. Head over to audibletrial.com/jumbled. Get your free 30-day trial and a free audiobook. And it's been a good one, Johnny. Thanks for taking the time out. I know you got a busy week or half week up ahead, so
it's gonna be good. Busy. I'm gonna go fire up the smoker and get some meat ready and have a good Sunday afternoon.
And then you're gonna get the meat ready, and then you're gonna cook whatever else you're cooking on the grill, right? Getting the meat ready. You're getting the meat ready.
Yeah. Yes.
And then you're gonna cook something.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. Prep that meat.
Yeah. Anyway, thanks guys, and we'll see you next week for another episode of Jumbled. Your favorite podcast about what, Johnny?
Nothing.
Absolutely not one thing.
Nailed it.
Bye.